Disclaimer, this podcast discusses mental health. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're struggling with your mental health, please remember it's okay to ask for help and seek the appropriate help through a qualified healthcare professional.
Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? My name is Jake Pearson, and today we have with us a podcaster, an educator. From the Siren Soapbox podcast, we have Tracy Cole from St. Croix, Virgin Islands in the United States. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I had a panic for a second when I was introducing you because of the way St. Croix is spelt. I read it. I was like, oh no, don't read it as it is. Say it. And mini heart attack, but I'm otherwise really well. Thank you for giving us your time today to share all things that make you happy. Tracy, please tell us, what does make you happy?
So one of the things that makes me happy is to say yes as often as I can. I have found that when an opportunity comes up, sometimes you might tell yourself, I dread doing this or I'm afraid to do this, but if you just jump in and say yes, you are likely to have so many more experiences in life and meet new people. And I don't know, often people, when they have regrets, it's because they said no to something. So saying yes is the thing that makes me happy.
I really resonate with that. And that brings me back to a movie I watched as a child, The Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Straight away, is that how you kind of envision that you approach everything in your life?
It really is, actually, in that movie. I love the movie, and it's almost a life philosophy for me. Now, I'm not quite that good at it. I don't actually say yes everything, but we've done this little activity before where you write the word no on your hand and you put a mark every time in the course of a day that you say no. And it's surprising. So it does retrain you to say yes, but it is that movie that really got me started down that path.
That's very interesting, a way you could keep track of any habit that you have. You know, when someone says sorry too often for little to no reason, but they just lead with that. I think that could be applied to a lot of different things. So I might steal that myself. Thank you for sharing that, Tracy.
That actually comes out of a book by Paul Boynton.
Okay.
And it has the word yes in the name as well. His book is called Begin with Yes. And so I read a lot of books that have yes in the title.
Fantastic. Do you read a lot of books in general?
I do. I enjoy reading.
So does reading also make you happy then as well?
It does. Absolutely. Sometimes for our podcast, we have challenges where we read a book and we'll sometimes get the opportunity to meet the author. But there's usually some sort of challenge that goes along with the book so that we can dive in even deeper. But yes.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, that's really cool. So this is the part of the episode where the listeners, you guys, I know you're hanging on for it. They want to get a bit of a takeaway from you, Tracy, like what can they learn? So I asked the question, what would you say to our audience or listeners who are struggling to find happiness in their lives?
I would say open yourself up to the opportunities. Just be much more aware of how often you say no and start saying yes more. If somebody sends you an invitation and you're not feeling up to it, you're not feeling very social, say yes anyway. And then tell yourself that you're looking forward to it and tell yourself that you're going to have fun. And you likely will. So my advice would be use that no counter. And try to limit yourself to, it depends on how much you say no. I try to limit myself to one no a day. And then I reflect back, could I have said yes? And what might I have missed out on by saying no?
I think that's very, very great way to end the episode. Tracy, thank you so much for sharing all things that make you happy. We really appreciate your time and insight.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend and we'll see you next time.